Hello everyone, welcome back to IT Pasanga YouTube channel. In this demo, we are going to see how we can test and webhook endpoints locally. So before going to do that, we have to have an idea about webhook. So let's see this definition and let me explain that after this. The webhook is a lightweight and event-driven communication that automatically send data between applications via HTTP. So simply says it uses an HTTP protocols usually that we use for API calls, and normally webhook is a concept where if we wanted to communicate between two applications. For an example, if you think about our REST APIs, what we do is we have connected it to a front end, and just that API will transfer data between front end and back end. There is no two different application, right? But in the webhook means there are two different applications, that means totally independent applications. It's like one's external application subscribing for the another external application. For an example, you are applying for a job, so you are getting a invitation to join an interview. So that time you will just need to click that interview link. There will be a calendar. So when you initiate that link, so it will be redirected to your calendar, and it will create that event on your calendar. And at the same time, that calendar will send you a notification to your mobile app or to some specific third party application. So this kind of scenario. For another scenario, we can say you are purchasing an order, and that will send some certain notification to your mobile application. There are some other certain place where we will get notifications, email alert, and something totally different responses from two different applications. That is the place where we use webhook. Okay, I hope this idea will give you a basic understanding of webhook. All right, so let's see. As I mentioned earlier, if we wanted to test an application, that means webhook endpoints locally, so we have to use one application called ngrok or ngrok. But why we need to have this? Because if we wanted to communicate between two applications, that means one app is going to subscribe to another app. Okay, for an example, our Google Calendar going to subscribe to our mail. Okay, then only it will send the notifications, and when you create a calendar, it will call that. So as I mentioned, for an example, our application is an event schedule application, right? So we have developing that. So when we imagine we have connected our application to a Google Calendar or Microsoft Calendar. So when we create a new event in Google Calendar, we can able to create the events now. So when we create an events, we should get notification or alert into our event schedule application. For that, our that calendar should be send a notification to our application. Then our application should be on live, it should be published somewhere else, then only it can connect. It can't connect to a local one, right? So let's see, your local system normally won't be able to connect because of the port and the SSL and other reasons. So therefore it should connect to a hosted one, because how it can be identified which local host we are running, right? So that should be IP port and everything will be there. That's then only that particular calendar can connect to our application. That's we know. So for that, this kind of situation. But imagine, so our app is still in development stage, we did not even publish it. Then how we can test our application, how it can behave with an external application like Google Calendar or Microsoft Calendar? Because we have to before publish, we should know how it works, right? We need to test how this actually works. For this kind of situation, we are using an application or approach called ngrok, or we can call ngrok. Okay, it's a little bit difficult to pronounce, so you can call it any way what you want. I would prefer to call ngrok. All right, so it will create a tunnel and it will works. Assume our application is hosted on a virtual kind of a network that through the ngrok, then any application can simply connect to our application. Okay, so this is the official website of ngrok. If you just search for ngrok, you will find here you have to register yourself. You can use any email, or you can use GitHub to register. So I have already registered here, and then you have to download this ngrok executable file. Okay, so once you can sign up with GitHub, that preferred one, easy, you can have a connection between your GitHub and ngrok. Once you've done that, so you can download it. Now let's see how we can install it and how can we utilize this for our purpose. So to install this application, uh, you have to go to the place where you have downloaded. So this is how I have downloaded. So I have registered here with my GitHub account, and since I am using Mac OS, I have to select the operating system. So if you want, by default, when you are on Mac or Windows, its system automatically find your platform. If you are going to download it for another platform, you can simply select it here. All right, so I just download it. So when you click it, it's download. I already download to reduce the time, download time. All right, so next step is we have to unzip it. Okay, let me unzip it. All right, there is an executable file ngrok. The next step, we have to run this command to add authentication token to our configuration file. To run this, therefore I just choose the place where my application already developed. So we have to create a terminal here. Okay, yes, let me so open a new terminal here, and we have to run this command. So let's see ngrok config at authentication. This authentication token may different for your application because of your portal. So since you have registered with your different authentication or method that you have used your email address and you have login, and so each user we will get different authentication. So make sure when you are following this tutorial, you should use your authentication token. That's all right. So actually, the problem was the location. So when we use external method to unzip file, like by clicking that, the terminal it's not actually supporting when we run. So it is recommending us to make sure that extract the ngrok inside the local bin file. Then you can see here that's library application support, the inside the library support, then that ngrok xml file, yml file will be there it is actually configuring it. So just I just enter that below command, then ngrok config add authentications like this. All right, now the app is running, that configuration is done. Next step is deploy your app online. So this is actually our goal is to run our app is currently locally, but we make a situation where it works as a hosted one. That is the place we are using ngrok. So we have to run our application on this ngrok. So for that put your app online at domain forwarding upstream to service. So we have to tell ngrok to run our application on hosted one. For that we have to put our application port number. So let's see. Okay, here this is our application. First make sure we app is running. So it should listen to our port number. Make sure that by default when you run our application it will run on https. Normally Swagger UI it will open in https. If you see here https, but ngrok only support http. For that we can find the http url of also for an app. Let me show you. If you go for, first we stop it, and if you go to check the configuration, there we can find, see, environment variable. So local host is 5130 for http, 71304 for https. Okay, that was Swagger. Or else I would recommend always to look inside the launch setting. Okay, so now we are running our profile event scheduler. So this is the profile event scheduler project. So you see application url for https localhost 3170, but http localhost 5130. Okay, now we should run our application, and we have to, it's kind of a hosting our application on ngrok. So we have to run ngrok, and we should tell that ngrok. So let's see. This command. So we are telling ngrok http, the host port is our local host port 5130. Let's see. Okay, what the issue was this, we haven't run sql earlier, so now app is running. So therefore I'm doing this again. I'll show you one by one again. Okay, so first according to this documentation we have to unzip it, and we have to add the authorization authentication token that we have added already. Anyhow I'm doing again. Okay, so once this authentication token added to this profile, what next is we just need to run it. Okay, ngrok. So make sure that app is running, obviously sql server is running, and yeah, so this is the running command. So but our port is, so we know that ngrok runs on http, not https. Our http protocol is localhost 5130. So we have to change, so that 5130 when it's type. Okay, this running. So this is the url that we are going to use instead of our local url. So it seems like a hosted environment where we can simply create a google events. So that I will show you in next upcoming session. So now this is running, and let's run and see that particular URL. Copy the URL and paste here. Okay, and it may be a post request because you have to check once. So now we have added a webhook controller and Google event model. Okay, this model is simply, just imagine you are creating an event in Google Calendar. That's it. Okay, this is not a course for that. So therefore you have to get some idea. So let's imagine we are creating a Google event that should be automatically trigger an event in our event schedule application. That Google event calendar should subscribe our application, and that should list out the event in along with our existing events in our application. So this app is, the goal of this app is scheduling events, right? So there's so many events, maybe Google Calendar events or office events or school events or university events, anything. So if it depends on your preference, so we have this app should schedule everything. So now we are creating a Google event. So these are the properties. So for this demo purpose, we are just assuming some part. Let me explain one by one. So imagine that string description start and end time. Okay, it is a small description about our Google event. Let's go to the controller. So webhook controller. So here it's used inherit from base controller as usual, and the event data service, and that event data service that we used to inject. So that is the existing feature in this application. So that is a registered service that we use for handling events, and then maybe adding the user manager and application user, because we should aware that which user is actually creating this Google account. So let's assume for demo purpose, we define, assuming that, so we are changing this logic that that particular user, that John, already registered in Google Calendar and thus creating this event. Okay, so for that's why I mentioned that in here as well in the comments, get user manually. That means actually we should have a mechanism to bring that user here, but this is not a course for that. Therefore I just adding that user manually. And so that I mentioned here, real world scenario, you should retrieve this through an integrated services. You might need to set in your database, so then you will know which user is actually creating this event. Okay, so here we checking that if that is not so if it is null, then we need to say return not found. And so that particular user is creating a Google event that we have received from this API called Google Calendar. Then we are just saving that Google event to our event data service with the help of event data service to our database. Okay, so these are the details. So see how we can do it from the Postman. So it's a post request, and if you see Swagger, that put newly added webhook API form you can found. So you can simply copy this schema, this body, so that we are going to use here. So body row JSON, and so make sure that this should be a post request. So it's a post request, and event name is Google Calendar. So slash API, the controller name is webhooks. So just copy paste this. Webhooks, then events endpoint name is Google Calendar. So this is the we are going to create GL Google event v5 version 7 test event via ngrok or ngrok. Okay, that's it. Make sure this running. So ngrok is running, and try to send this unauthorized. All right, so we have this token that is an we haven't add the authorization here. What was the issue here? Try again. Unauthorized post. And when we're running, make sure that we use app.use http redirection, because we have this pipeline middleware we use for when any http request come, our app will convert it to https request. Okay, since we know that ngrok only work for http request, not https request, so therefore we should know that we should make this change to should allow, not allow to redirection, but strongly remember that, very careful on this. When it's when you are on development environment is fine, but make sure that when you doing a deployment, that mean in the production or live environment, it should be uncommented. Okay, so you should disable you should enable it. That means very concerned about this. There are some places I repeatedly tell, because this is when cause an unexpected behavior, then it harmful to our application. So make sure that app.use http redirection should be enabled when you go for live. Okay, now let's see to create. Sorry, this one, now we have that unauthorized. Why unauthorized? I think the token is expired, so let's try to get the new token. And let's try this. Sorry. We have copied the wrong code. Okay. All right, success, we got to 200. Okay, so the issue was this authentication was expired, that's it. Okay, and we know that earlier we had an issue that because we haven't run SQL server, so this my kind of issues you won't get, because I'm using if you use Windows PC, you won't even get that kind of error. And for authorization error, you should be very careful when you're calling it. All right, now we have done this part, and let's try to call this event. Yes, you should have all good get all events. All right, so if you see here, mm, this event, my event. Okay, so you can find our event here, GL event v7 and GL event. So what is the name of this? We posted GL event v7. Yeah, so this is the event that just now we have created. So this is how we can test our APIs with which connected to an external application through the webhook, and when our application is connected to another application any subscription methods, or you may use Signal to receive real-time notifications or something, data from any other application, or else this kind of subscription based automatic and real-time subscription from one application to hook and even from our application. So this kind of testing also we can use Postman and with using our ASP.NET Core Web APIs. So let me come to a summary again. Alright, so summary is, so we have created an event scheduled application that schedule organize your events from different places. So for this purpose we have created a Google event. So we know that Google event should be connected to an hosted environment. Since our application in development environment, we have used a way, that it's a mechanism or tool called ngrok or ngrok that help us to using a tunnel. So it's pretend our app like hosted on somewhere else on an ngrok server. Okay, so this is how what we are seeing here. Then what we did is, and we have download ngrok and add authentication to our system with ngrok. Then we run the ngrok portal. Okay, then we can able to create and do the events management through the ngrok. For that we have created a event controller, that means Google event models. Then we have created a webhook controller that will uh, creates events. So when someone create a Google event, it pretend like we are receiving an event from Google. Okay, we just do some demo purpose, we have just do some manual hard coded work here as well. So this is, but when we in real time we have to do more configuration to do this kind of configuration to really connect your Google account with your application, and make sure that webhook when you are deploying this application, webhook automatically runs before your application start works. That one consideration, you don't need to worry about that. And so now then what we did was we just create a post an event, and let's get all the event that we have created. Okay, API slash, what is the get all events, all events. Alright, let's copy the authorization code and avoid this kind of issue. You can simply, when you're creating a new request, just click and add request from here. Then what will happen, whatever the authorization and bearer token provided inside this collection, by default that token with authorization token will be added to our request. Since I'm creating from here, that particular request doesn't have any token from inherit from parent, because we haven't created from any parents, no, that is the thing. So now if you see here, so we have kind of call all the events through the ngrok, and you can find all the events that we have created. Okay, so that's it. And make sure that when you run this application using ngrok, you have to comment this, otherwise ngrok won't work, and you will get this kind of error. Let me show you. So now we have uh, add use HTTP redirection. Therefore what will happen is, when you let's run it again, 5130, it's listening. But when you call this API, you say you will get this 404 not found, and when you try to post it also, version 8, version 8, and you will get this error because not found, because it cannot run on that. So you have to use detection. Okay, another thing I forgot. Let's see, let me show you, there's a mistake. If you run this, this is not what we get. Let's see, there was a little bit confusion. We don't want the not found error. What we got was not actually from that, because we haven't add the new URL to call this API. So let's see, call it. Okay, here we can. So now you will get different error. Because app is running. Okay, let's wait for some time. Okay, wait, v9, let's call it. Temporary redirection, you are getting this error not showing there. 304, sorry, 307 temporary redirection, because we are trying to call https redirection here, since it is returning http, but therefore we are not be able to get that. Now what we have to do is we have to do it and stop it again, run it. Now it works fine, it should work fine. Stop the terminal, run it again. ngrok. So now we will get new. This is the forwarding URL, and we have to add that here. Now let's try to create it. Alright, event has created, and get events also should work. Sorry, we have to add a new URL. That kind of mistake you may do, make sure that, because every time this is not our hosted one or local one, so this is a tunneling API URL, so that may change every time when you run this. Okay, you can see now v9 GL event v9, yeah. So this is the event that just now we have created. So why we do this, before, let's imagine our application connecting to third parties and subscribing for that, like a event hook. But until we host, we don't know how it works, right? How it react, and how actually it works. After live or production release, we can't test it, no. So before that, we have to develop it, test it, debug it. So these kind of scenario, we can use ngrok, that pretend like a live tunneling, and help us to test the webhooks. So since we are now, this course belongs to ASP.NET Core testing and error handling, so we should know that how to handle a webhook event in our ASP.NET Core Web APIs, and how to test it. So we can use ngrok, and there are some other tools as well, but this is one of the key tool that we can use to connect a subscription webhook, like events like Google Calendar or something, different third-party APIs as well, applications. Yeah, that's all from this demo. I hope you guys enjoyed. See you all on next session and next video. Thanks for watching.